Welcome back to another episode of the Tech Talks Daily podcast. I'm your host, Neil C. Hughes, and today we've got another great guest joining us. His name is Chris Roeckl, and he's the Chief Product Officer at a company called Appdome. And they are a leading cybersecurity automation defense platform for mobile applications. And Appdome have got an incredible reputation for empowering organizations to deliver superior mobile app protection, but with less complexity, thereby enhancing user experience. And this is a topic I wanted to explore in a little more detail today, because every single one of us here, and yes, that means you listening wherever you are in the world, use mobile apps every single day. We might think about security when being on the internet and websites and email, but not necessarily when it comes to our mobile applications. And I wanted to learn more from a business point of view on how businesses are protecting those apps. So in our conversation today, Chris is going to discuss the challenges of mobile app security, the importance of protecting personal data within those apps, and the methods to safeguard the source code of those apps too. And we'll also delve into the various types of mobile app attacks. So with his deep expertise in this area, I'm hoping he's going to be able to provide some valuable insights on how organizations can implement encryption, trusted installations, bot protection systems, all to defend their mobile platforms against these threats. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to California, where Chris is waiting to join us today. So massive warm welcome to the show, Chris. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure, I'd be happy to. First off, thanks for having me here today. Much appreciated. So I'm Chris Roeckl. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Appdome. Appdome is a mobile app security company focused on protecting every consumer and business-facing mobile app on the planet. I started here about 6.5 years ago when we were starting the company, doing work to actually sell the product to its first customers. I then moved into a position where I ran all of our customer operations, and now I'm in charge of our product. So I'm focused on making sure that we, one, have the right security protections for our products, two, that the platform that the SaaS platform that we provide to customers has all the features and capabilities they need to do work on the platform, as well as within their CI/CD build systems. And I also work with our partner ecosystem, and that's oriented toward, again, working with DevSec companies in the CI/CD area, security testing, SIM integration, a whole variety of other partners, as Appdome really provides a very unique solution to the mobile app makers to help them secure their mobile apps.
And as someone that's challenged with protecting or helping protect businesses and your customers and users, etc., from cybersecurity challenges, I honestly don't know how you sleep at night, because the threat landscape seems to be evolving at breakneck speed, and there's different trends happening all the time. And I suppose to set the scene for our conversation today, from everything you're seeing out there, what would you say are the top cybersecurity challenges that companies are facing when trying to protect their super apps?
That's a great question. And the challenges are multi-level.
Yeah.
The super apps, or even just, regular kind of single task apps, all face the same fundamental challenges when they look at mobile app security protection. And the scale of it is pretty wide, right? So obviously one of the things that mobile app makers want to do, first and foremost, is protect the app itself. Right. So the last thing, after you spend all your hard-earned time and money to make a mobile app, last thing you want to have happen is somebody steal that code, right? Yeah. And create a fake version of that app and, drain your potential revenue source. So at the foundation, it's all about protecting the source code of the app. So that's step one. From there, it really goes into, okay, if we have people logging in and doing transactions on an app, we absolutely want to make sure that we protect personal data that could be used within the app. And then from there, it goes into farther parts of how to protect the app. So for instance, you want to make sure that you protect all of the network connections to the app as well as the app talks to back-end systems. And then there's the really hard part, which is what you alluded to at the top of this question, which is, okay, what about all those threats out there? So there's all new kinds of malware, fraud, and even cheating that are protections that we make sure at Appdome that we're always, ahead of the threat and can provide those protections to our customers.
And one of the big ones that I've been reading about is screen overlay attacks. So for anybody that's not heard about this, can you expand a little on how screen overlay attacks are being used in mobile fraud? And also, are there any preventative measures that organizations can take to try and protect against them?
Yeah, these overlay attacks are particularly insidious. What happens is that either within the code or via a malicious separate app, a bad actor is able to change permissions within the device to allow for a screen to overlay on top of what would be, for instance, your login credentials for your banking app. This is a very nasty attack because what it does is it takes that login information and then pipes that information back through that malicious code and allows that bad actor to be able to gain access to an account, as an example, right? So obviously, one of the ways that we help our customers do that is we have a protection for that, which will notify the customer that an overlay is in use and actually stop the app, close the app from at that moment, right? So that the consumer is protected from that overlay attack. There are a couple of things that consumers can do, right? As I said, some of these attacks are based on malicious code that are found in other apps, within Android. And so the best way to protect yourself, you need to make sure that you're downloading apps from the Google Play Store, right? Don't use secondary stores. And also make sure that you're not downloading apps that are suspicious, right? That may provide one task, but actually are provide the ability to actually launch that malicious code. So the protection mechanisms are difficult with overlay because you don't know if there is malicious code in those apps. So you really just need to focus on the apps that you know and love and trust as your best method of protection. And then, as I said, of course, for the app makers, they can rely on Appdome to be able to put those protections in their app so they don't have to have themselves or their consumers worrying about it.
And another big one I'm reading more and more about, of course, is credential stuffing attacks. But again, for anyone that's not heard of that, can you walk me through what a credential stuffing attack will look like to the average user and also how mobile apps can be better protected against them?
Yeah, so from credential stuffing attacks are really a class of attack that weaponize mobile apps against the app maker, right? So these attacks overrun backend servers with hundreds and thousands of username and password combinations, and that the bad actor is hoping for a match. Okay. Yeah. The way that this occurs is that the mobile app can be hacked, which will reveal the application programming interfaces to these backend services. Okay. So really the requirement here is for app makers to make sure that they put the protections in place to make sure that this type of threat can't happen. Now, there are a couple of different ways to do that, right? One is making sure that you're only getting connections to the backend server from a trusted installation of the mobile app, right? That is really an important way to prevent against this. You can also take advantage of other, what we call bot protection systems, either installed on the client, the mobile app, right, on the device itself through the app, or against they can also be located in the data center of the app maker. So there are a number of ways to do this, the certificate pinning and client certificates and shared secrets. There are a bunch of methods for that. Really the target of a credential stuffing attack at the end of the day is the organization that's providing the service. So for instance, in the loyalty business, right? So companies that provide point-based systems, these types of attacks can be really nasty for obtaining somebody's loyalty points and then transferring them to others and then being able to actually sell those points out on the open market. Just as one example. Obviously, banking and other financial institutions face these types of attacks as well. But there are things that app makers can do to make sure that they have the protections that they need in order to prevent credential stuffing attacks.
And another big one is man-in-the-middle attacks. They're becoming increasingly common too. And I think it's something along the lines of where the attacker exists between the user and the application. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And also, again, how companies can prevent these kind of attacks on their mobile platforms?
It is. Man-in-the-middle attacks are, as you point out, are an attack where a bad actor can gain access to information by essentially tapping into the connection between the mobile client and the app maker's backend infrastructure. So again, this is another scenario where confidential information, if it's not properly secured, will be able to be obtained and then used by that bad actor to compromise an account, or more importantly, not only compromise a single account, but be able to use that information to do further damage within systems by getting access into backend servers. So it is a very common type of attack. I will say that what we're seeing more of are more complex attacks in the area of malware and fraud. Not to say that man-in-the-middle attacks are disappearing, but we do see the threat landscape becoming more sophisticated at mobile apps. The way that organizations can protect themselves is to ensure that encrypted channels are always used between the mobile app, right, the source of the information, the backend that it's going to. And there are lots of different methods to do that are very sophisticated. There are also some that are very simple, which is making sure that you have what are called TLS connections between those 2 points, which is a 3-letter acronym that basically means make sure the connections are encrypted. And encryption will be able to provide the layer of protection needed so that that information is not available in the clear.
And I'm curious, listening to you here and all these different kind of attacks, are attackers focused on industry-specific style of attacks? Or is it just the cast the net far and wide, or are they focused on in particular industries? And do you have any examples of how at Appdome you've helped mitigate some of these threats?
Yeah. So actually, I want to start in a place where we were a little bit earlier, which are overlay attacks. So overlay attacks started in the Asia Pacific region. There are very specific targeted attacks to certain financial organizations. And our customers came to us and said, we're starting to hear about overlays. And the next thing you knew, there were regulatory bodies both inside and outside of financial banking institutions in Asia Pacific putting in very specific regulations to say you need to be able to protect against this type of attack. So we do see, informal and formal regulatory processes that drive certain behaviors for app protection. So that's one example. Yeah. Another example is in gaming. So in the gaming business, most global gaming organizations or betting organizations have specific regulations in terms of how you operate in a specific country. And those regulations will vary from country to country. So therefore, the app makers need to be absolutely certain that the human that is playing that game or doing that betting is coming from the country that they say they're coming from, to make sure that all those regulations line up. And so we've helped gaming companies and betting companies ensure with their what are called authenticator apps, which are apps that guarantee the location of where the human's coming from, to make sure that those apps aren't tampered with because what people will do, again, bad actors, will try to fake out the locations so that they can get access to different types of services that may not be available in their country. Third example, just to wrap things up here, obviously in healthcare, patient confidentiality is critical. It is the core of many governmental requirements to say that you've got to make sure that all your patient information is treated confidentially. And we've done via encryption and other security capabilities. We've helped lots of healthcare companies ensure that they don't have to go through the hassle. So the third area is in healthcare. Lots of government organizations have rules and regulations to ensure the confidentiality of patient information. We've helped a number of healthcare companies ensure that they have the right levels of encryption so that they don't have to go through the hassle and trouble of building those capabilities themselves. You know, our solution is gives our customers the ability to add security with a click of a button, and be able to secure their app in a couple minutes and then get it released to the marketplace. So that's healthcare has also been a very, very important area for ensuring that there aren't industry-specific attacks.
And if we were to take a look under the hood at everything that makes all this possible, of course, we've got to talk about DevOps process improvement as well. So how can mobile app developers maybe improve their DevOps processes? And is that a role or do you play a role in helping with this too?
This is a great question. And the reason it's a great question is because there's been a fair amount of tension between DevOps teams and cybersecurity teams about how to best secure mobile apps. Dev teams don't necessarily have the technical expertise to implement security capabilities themselves. And meanwhile, cyber teams are under pressure to implement, whether it's an industry-specific regulation or just a company requirement to make sure that data is safe and they're free from attacks and threats. So when Appdome came to market, we made a very conscious decision to be focused on a dev tool that provides cyber. Right? So we're not a cyber tool that's doing it in a cyber way. We're very much focused on the workflow of the mobile app process. And that means being fully integrated into the DevSecOps process within our app makers. So being integrated into the CI/CD pipeline, making sure everything that you can create on Appdome is done in a fully automated way, to be able to test using automation systems that the DevOps, the DevSecOps team at our customers use. So we've taken this very unique approach to implementing cyber within DevOps processes. And that is something that's again, very unique for us and something that's helping our customers improve the DevSecOps process. And the other thing I would just note is that as part of this system that we're providing to our customers, we don't lose sight of the cybersecurity teams that we serve. One of our big differentiators in the marketplace is we actually provide a certification that the functions, the security protections that have been implemented into the app are provided in a report, each build to the cybersecurity team. So Dev has a system that makes it really easy for them to do the work. The cyber team gets an artifact that is proof that the security features have been implemented. And so in this regard, the teams come together and are able to provide a solution to inside their organization to be able to implement security capabilities in the apps without having all of this friction that they had before in terms of how to set up and implement all these different security capabilities.
And we've covered so much today around the challenges and offered so many different solutions. I think the one thing that we've not talked about yet is compliance inside mobile apps, because achieving compliance, let's be honest, can be an incredibly complex task for many organizations. So are there any insights you can share on how companies can ensure their mobile apps are compliant with the necessary regulations? Because again, it's a space that's continuously moving, isn't it?
It is, and it can be a very complex challenge for organizations to, one, make the right determination of what's needed at step one, and then continue to be able to meet changes in the compliance landscape. We generally see two types of organizations. That are trying to solve for compliance and just meeting the security requirements of that they need to address, right? There's one where we have what I think of as forward-thinking cybersecurity specialists who know about the threats. They have either studied and or know the requirements, be it from the company itself or from the industry regulations. And those are people who come to us and say, I know exactly what I need, and I'm here to, what I realize is I can't do this work, but I know what I need. Others are reactive. And the way that they come to Appdome for help is they have a security scan or a pen test that basically outlines, hey, here are the gaps that you have in your app, and they need somebody to solve those gaps. Now, in the organization that shows up to us with a list, right, let's say they need 5 things. Let's not worry about what the things are. Part of our job is not only to deliver the 5 things that they need, but also give to them our expertise to understand that there may be 3 or 4 other things they hadn't contemplated, but are really important. And the way that we provide this value to our customers is we have a security research team, 20 people strong, and they will provide recommendations to our customers to be able to say, this is where you are today, right? Based on what we see and what's happening in the world, we think you should be here either today, tomorrow, the next day. So we try to work very collaboratively with our customers, whether they're forward-thinking or more reactive, to make sure they stay ahead of the threat. If I can just give one more example here, one of the things that we see emerging in Latin America, the States, and now parts of Europe are financial services attacks. The names of them are, in Latin America, it's Brasdex, and North America and Europe, it's called Xenomorph. And these are new and very sophisticated attacks that use the accessibility services that are available on people's mobile devices, right? The services that help the blind, the deaf, right? The people who have a hard time with touch, right? There are all these great services that are provided under accessibility. And bad actors are now using these services as the basis for launching attacks by either doing key logging or scraping information using those services. So again, we're very proactive with our prospects and customers to be able to make sure that they understand these new types of attacks and are able to protect themselves against them.
And before you came on the podcast, when I was researching Appdome, I quickly learned that you have this incredibly ambitious mission to protect every single mobile app in the world. I mean, wow. Can you elaborate on that and tell me a little bit more about how you're achieving that goal, particularly with this unique DevSecOps certification system that you've got there?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. It's a very, very bold goal that we have, and we live up to it every day as best we can. And the reason that we say we want to protect every app on the planet is because every app on the planet does need some level of protection. If you remember back at the top of our discussion, one of the things I said that is really important for app makers themselves is to make sure they protect their own intellectual property, right? That your app unprotected could be cloned, placed in another app store, and there goes your source of revenue, right? So at the very baseline of just the most basic app, whether it's It could be ad supported. It could be the simplest game, right? If whatever it is, you want to make sure that you protect your own intellectual property, even if you have no personal information. And then you just go up the scale from there, right? Whether it's a banking app or a super app, the complexity of security continues to grow, right? The number of protections that you need continue to grow over the course of the sophistication of your app. But at the end of the day, we've said as a company, big or small, simple or complex, we want to make sure that we're protecting everybody. And the way that we do that is with a very simple platform. You upload your app, you select the security features you need, and about 2 minutes later, we have provided a framework and libraries to the app that allow you to run those protections and deploy them into the store. It's that simple. So the way that we get to total protection of every mobile app on the planet is to keep it simple, keep it current, and make sure that we can certify every app to be secured for the protections that our customers need.
And at the very beginning of the podcast, I mentioned that I don't know how you sleep at night because you're trying to protect every app, because the threat landscape seems to be evolving at breakneck speed. And there's also a real pressure on everyone to be in a state of continuous learning. And I would say you more than most people with the industry that you're working in here. So the question I'd love to ask is, where or how do you self-educate? How do you stay ahead of the curve of these attacks?
Well, fun fact, Neil, I started out many, many moons ago as a journalist.
Oh.
Yeah. So, yeah. And so what that, being a journalist when actually printed newspapers were cool, not to date myself too much, that is a journey of lifelong learning, right? That's what that business is all about, because you walk into a situation, you ask questions, you learn about the scenario, and then you document it for the curious, for the curious to read about, right? So for me personally, it's been taking that type of approach and applying it not only to the moment of, writing an article or something along those lines, but turning it into a work style, right? So really my past has helped me personally be able to not only embark upon a career in which I've, sold things, managed customers, managed technical teams, and now run a product. And that has been, it's just been very successful for me. You have to be hungry for the learning experience. And I've loved every minute of it. It is a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but staying up to date is being able to go through these challenges. This is an amazing part of my own personal journey.
I think that's a beautiful moment to end on. But before I do let you go, for anyone listening, just want to find out more information about anything we talked about today, or check out some of the work you're doing at Appdome, or contact your team, etc., what's the best starting point for everything?
Yeah, so the best starting point, good old-fashioned way, appdome.com. One of the things that we've really focused on in terms of our ability to share information with our customers and prospects is we are very open with the information that we provide, and we are very technical in the information that we provide, because this is a technical business. Developers want to know exactly how to implement. InfoSec teams want to know exactly how we protect. And so we have an incredible knowledge base that is open to everyone, right? To be able to learn about any security protection that we have, learn how the system operates. And, from that learning journey, we're happy to talk to folks and explain to them the product, and even provide a free trial, which is something that most organizations can't take advantage of that easily. For us, it's as simple as uploading the app, clicking a couple buttons, and doing some testing. So we're very honored to provide our customers the ability to get information about us quickly, and then be able to try our product. The other thing I would just note is that our team, our selling team, our engineering team, the product team that I run, we're all avid LinkedIn people. So a great way to start a personal conversation is just to look up Appdome and find a human in your area and reach out and say hi, and we'll be happy to continue the conversation in the way that makes sense for everyone.
Awesome. Well, I'll add a link to the show notes so people can find you all nice and easily. We've covered so much in a short amount of time there, from cybersecurity challenges, the top ways screen overlay attacks are used in mobile fraud, to protecting mobile attacks against credential stuffing attacks, man-in-the-middle attacks, and also how mobile app developers can improve their DevOps processes and also achieve mobile app compliance. A lot packed into 35 minutes there, but more than anything, thank you for taking the time to sit down and get those ideas out of your head and share them with people around the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We did cover a lot of ground, and again, it was my honor to be here, and thank you so much for hosting us.
That brings us to the end of another enlightening episode. Huge thanks to Chris there for covering so much ground in a short amount of time, from how to defend against various mobile app attacks, the importance of an encryption and security within DevOps processes, and also about Appdome's unique approach to cybersecurity by helping organizations across a wide range of industries, from finance, gaming, healthcare, to so many more, just to ultimately secure their apps against these increasing number of attacks. And we've also touched on the importance of achieving compliance in mobile apps, and how their mission at Appdome to protect every mobile app in the world is driven by a collaborative approach and a dedicated security research team. So if you are a mobile app developer looking to improve your DevOps processes or struggling to achieve mobile app compliance, check out Appdome. Let me know what you think. Email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram @NeilCHughes. I'd love to hear your thoughts and keep you in this conversation. But that's it for today, so stay safe, gang, stay tech savvy. A big thank you for listening as always, and until next time, don't be a stranger.